I heard they opened up a new shooting range in Los Santos. Dude, this is crazy. The targets actually move. They even got assisted props too. That's wild. See how technology is making our society a better place. Howdy boys, it's NPC, and today we're going to be going over the top 5 best customizations I've ever made, part 3. You guys really seem to like the series, so why not come out with another one? I've got plenty of cars to show off. First up, we have the beautiful Grotti Cheetah Classic. And I've got this in a Formula Red, with the Formula Red pearlescent as well. For the secondary options, I went with all ice white, which includes all the underbelly options, that being the front bumper, the rear bumper, and the skirts. That also puts that secondary stripe down the middle. The Cheetah Classic is a retro car, so there were a lot of retro options to be thrown on it. The retro, what is that, like the engine cover? The 3 lines right there. And then we also threw in the retro spoiler. And then for the vents, I went with the bottom option. I can't remember what it was called, but that adds the vents in both the front and the back of the rear wheel. For exhaust, I went with the carbon tipped exhaust, and for the rims, I went with ice white Hyperfreshes to complete the red and white Ferrari look. I think this car pulls it off really well, and I think Hyperfreshes are, I mean, they're a good looking rim on their own, but I think it looks especially good on this vehicle. I just think it's the right size and shape. It's got a little bit of red and white on the actual rim itself. And the Cheetah Classic is just a pleasure to customize and drive. It handles amazing, it looks amazing, it sounds amazing. It's got a ton of customization, it's got pop-up headlights. This is like the dream retro car. If you guys are into older cars, I would highly recommend picking up a Cheetah Classic. Like, I don't need to explain it more to you guys. You can see that that's beautiful. For the interior, I went with an ice white as well, and then for the sunstrip, I went with the Grotti Nation one. I don't usually customize my cars after real life vehicles because I think it's fun to give it a more creative spin in GTA, since it's a video game, since it doesn't have to be realistic. But I think for this one in particular, it looked incredibly good. If you guys are looking to grab a Cheetah Classic, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $860,000. Up next, we have the Progen T20. It's not the most customizable vehicle in the world, but I do think mine looks pretty good. This one, once again, I did try to base off of a real-life vehicle, that being the McLaren, whatever this car is in real life. I can't remember if it's the 720 or the 570, but I painted it in a sunrise orange with a yellow pearlescent, and that creates that beautiful sunrise effect. It looks so good on the T20. And then for the secondary color, I went with a matte black on the skirts as well. No front bumper because I didn't really like the way it made it look. I think it juts out a little too much from the vehicle. And then for the exhaust, I went with a chrome option. And the color contrast between the orange and the black just looks really good. For the rims, I went with some sports option. I actually don't remember the name of this one. And I typically don't think that these rims look very good, but the T20 works there super well. And I have those in black to keep the theme consistent. The T20 is such a beautiful car. It was my first big purchase in online. I've had this one for 7 years now. That's a longer amount of time than I've been friends with a lot of my friends. That's really weird to think about. But I've never once changed the customization because I think it looks so good. I think McLaren's really rock that orange color, and the T20 is no exception. Last thing I want to say is that I do have the 4th of July tire smoke on it that changes colors between red, white, and blue because I thought it was really cool. And the 4th of July options at the time were exclusive to whenever the 4th of July stuff was out for like a week or two. So I wanted to throw it on the T20, and it would be black otherwise, and I just kept it like that for nostalgic purposes. If you guys are looking to grab a T20, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $2.2 million. Up next, we have the beautiful Imponte Dukes. I've got this in just the standard blue with, I don't think I changed the pearlescent on it either, so it's going to be a surf blue pearlescent. And then for the secondary color, I went with a black, and the secondary option changes the front section of the vehicle, the back bumper as well, and I can't tell if the exhaust is also black. It almost seems like it is because it's got that same pearlescent shine on it as the front and rear bumpers. Speaking of bumpers, I actually decided not to throw one of those on because it added like a chin. If you guys have ever seen Fairly Odd Parents and you know who Crimson Chin is, how he's got that huge chin sticking out, yeah, that's what it looks like, and it's not a good look for the vehicle, so I decided not to go with it. So I don't know what you would call that front section. I guess I was trying to say more like the grill, the mask. It's like Batman's mask. For the hood, I went with the Ram air hood because I liked how it made the car look a little less sleek because it is a very slender vehicle. I didn't want it to be as fragile looking. And then for the roof option, I left that default instead of throwing on a hard top because I like the texture of the soft top. For rims, I went with the 5-star muscle rims, and typically I'm not a huge fan. Oh my god! I should be dead. For the rims, I went with the 5-star muscle option and blacked those out. I thought it filled out the space really nicely, and I'm typically not a big fan of chrome, but for some reason, the Dukes just really pulls it off. I think it's because the rims are so far into the vehicle. Like, they get covered by the fenders, it casts a shadow over them, so maybe it's a little less noticeable. It just seems like it gives the car a little more life, and I like that. I was a huge fan of the Dukes, but it was only available to people who transferred from the Xbox 360 and the PS3, I think, over to PC and the new gen consoles. So I was pretty jealous because Harmnun had a Dukes, and I had no access to it, and it made me very sad. But lucky for me, I have my very own Dukes now, and I think it looks gorgeous, especially from this side. If you guys are looking to grab an Aponte Dukes, you can find it under the two-door section of Southern San Andreas. For me, it's free. I'm not entirely sure if it works that way for everyone. I think if it's not free for you, it might be because you're a newer player. Don't take my word for it though. I'm not entirely sure why it's free for me because I'm pretty sure I bought this car. But maybe I'm just getting old and I'm losing my memory. So if you guys know, please let me know in the comments. Our fourth vehicle is the Progen Tyrus, one of the supercars that came out with the Cunning Stunts DLC. That was actually my favorite DLC that's ever been added into online. That was such a fun time. And online was in a really good state. Oh, we got dirt on it? Dude. Okay, now that we've got all that nasty shit in our car, okay, that's so much better. I've got the Tyrus in a sea green with a gasoline green pearlescent, and it creates this beautiful, like, how would I describe it? Maybe like a lurking green. It's like, I think the car is very alligator looking, and I kind of wanted to stick with that theme. I think I actually got this color from Jimmy J57, who is one of my favorite GTA YouTubers, like way back in the day. And he was also the inspiration for how I came up with the idea of customization battles, if you guys are ever curious about how I managed to come up with that. It was from this guy, and he also did this series where he would do crazy colors on his cars, and I think this is one of those colors. And it looks perfect on the Tyrus because of its alligator kind of stance to it. It's very long and sleek. For the rims, I went with Cheetah Carbon R's with a baby blue highlight to them. For the underglow, can you see it? Yes, you can, right here especially. For the underglow, I went with a light blue as well. For the spoiler, I went with the Extreme Downforce BGW, which is the really thick one, because the only other option was like, it was too long and skinny, and the car's already long and skinny, so I just think it was like, it was too much. This one fills out that space a little nicer, makes the car feel like it actually takes up space. And then lastly, I have no livery on it. Unfortunately, the Tyrus has extremely limited customization, but despite that, I think people still have a very hard time making it look good. I'm very proud of the way mine looks. I think mine's really unique looking compared to some of the other Tyruses that I've seen that are just like black and orange with one livery, blue or white with the other livery. It's like, it's kind of just boring. So I wanted to go with something a little more unique, and I think it looks fantastic. If you guys are looking to grab a Tyrus, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $2.55 million. And our anchor for this video is the Grotti Bestia GTS. Such a sexy looking vehicle. I think it's such an underrated car. People rarely whip out the Bestia, but when they do, I've never seen a bad looking one. It's crazy how good this car looks in every single color, in any customization you give it. There's not a whole lot that you can do to it. It's kind of like the car just looks really good, and that carries most of the customizations, but I do think mine still looks pretty good. I've got this in a Mariner Blue, I believe, with either a cream or a bleached brown pearlescent, and then I've got the High Five rims, which look like this, and I've got that in a bronze. For the exhaust, I went with the chrome, I don't know what to call those. Those aren't ovals or rectangles. They're chrome and they have one opening each. And then I went with some extended skirts. For the rest of the body mods, I went with sports skirts. For the front bumper, I picked the Euro option because it was the cleanest, least racy looking one. For the hood option, I went with the smooth hood. And despite it being called the smooth hood, I like that it has that really deep cut into it. I think it looks incredibly good. And then lastly for the spoiler, it's super subtle looking, but it's on the back there, it's the low level spoiler. And I liked how the vehicle was still a little bit moddable, even if the options are incredibly discreet. It's a really good looking vehicle overall. And I didn't base this one off of anything in real life, but I did try to keep it more realistic looking with the Ferrari-ish blue and bronze rims. I think it's a really underrated color combo. I actually lost for this color combo on the Grotti Furia customization battle, which is f***ing crazy in my opinion. I guess it's a little different on the Furia though, because I will admit that it is simplistic looking, but I think it works with the Bestia because it's a smaller vehicle, takes up less space, and it's got a more unique shape to it. So I think it makes it more acceptable on this one. If you guys are looking to pick up a Bestia, you can find it under the two-door section of Legendary Motorsport for $610,000. But anyways, guys, that's going to wrap it up for the top 5 best customizations I've ever made, part 3. Excuse me, sir, I'm doing my outro. Drop a like if you guys enjoyed the video, comment down below, and let me know what you thought of my builds. Sub to the channel if you guys are new. There will be more videos like this coming out in the very near future. And that's about it, so take care, and I'll catch you boys in the next one. Peace!